Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Inspire and Inquire. It's your girl, Regina, here.
And Shani.
And we're so happy to be on this journey with you. So thanks again for joining us for another episode.
And this is episode 9 of our first season. So thank you so much for being with us so far.
So far, so good. All right, and today we're going to be talking about unchecking our checkboxes, or just even trying to be aware of all the checkboxes that we tend to subscribe to in society as we go about living our lives.
Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about checkboxes, we're talking about all of those things that kind of without even really choosing that we feel that we have to maintain or achieve in order to maybe feel welcomed or wanted or received in society.
And we've noticed that a lot of people, especially nowadays with social media and just the presence of perfection everywhere, that we have people struggling, struggling to be happy, struggling to find peace of mind, struggling with anxiety. And we think that being aware of these checkboxes and then making the choices to uncheck them, if you so feel, might bring you peace of mind and closer to truth and happiness.
And I always think of that, Instagram versus real life pictures. So, we put out that Instagram picture just in general in terms of what we present to others, but we tend to keep the real life from those around us, even those really close to us. Mm-hmm. And the question is, why?
I mean, I feel like we're being rewarded for presenting unreal. We're being rewarded for presenting perfection. That's when we get the accolades. That's when we get the mention of wonderful abilities. It's when we present perfection, and we tend to get rejected when we present what's real. When we show our vulnerabilities, it's not always something that's welcomed. And I feel like that's probably what the biggest driving motivation for most of us is, that we're trying to connect and we're trying to be accepted by others. So therefore we project something that's not necessarily completely us.
But what's weird to me about that is that you're trying to connect. You want relationships, whatever type that they are, but you want deep and meaningful ones as well, but you're not bringing deep and meaningful to each other. So, in whatever the dynamics. So if you're dating someone, you're going to come with those kind of checkboxes. You're going to come with the makeup. You're going to come, waxed and the hair done and the extensions and the heels. And that may not be your real, and the person that you meet with is in the suit and clean shaved and looks, perfect. And that may not be his real.
Right.
When you finally get to the real, it's like, hold on a second, this isn't what I signed up for. But no one came with it. And usually what you're saying is that when you do bring that real, you're not going to be met with anything positive on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that's interesting to me about this whole concept of perfection is that I don't necessarily have a problem with perfection. I actually have a theory about perfection, which we'll talk about a little later. But my thing is, strive for perfection. Push for it. Always grow, always evolve. But what's troubling to me is that, we're not showing what it actually takes to get to that level of perfection. Like, no one actually gets to see the person in the wax room on their fours.
The red after.
The red from the Brazilian, and how hard that really was. The struggle is real, so fine, let's say, yes, we want things to be better. We want to grow. We want to push. But why aren't we showing the hard, work and struggle that it takes in order to achieve, these levels of perfection that we all love so much?
My thing is, do you really want it? As in, it is the expectation that you should, we're using waxing, you should wax. Mm-hmm. Do you really want to? Is that something that you genuinely like, personally as an individual? Or is it just because it's expected? And that's where I have a problem. Like, where, I think we should have what we do, how we present, match what we truly feel,
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you brought up waxing as one. Let's see if we can look at a few other check boxes that we feel as women in particular have to, just expected for us to check off as we live throughout our lives. I can't really speak too much about men. I'm not a man, but I'm sure you guys have your own as well. But for women, of course, it's all about looking young, right? Maintaining that youthful look, which might require even surgery for some people.
Right,
sometimes.
nipping and tucking and, lifting up and stretching back.
Makeup, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Contouring face. What do you call it? The concealer under your eyes.
Hide those wrinkles.
Yeah, just look good, right? For your entire life. And what society says is look good is young, right? We also have to be looking at, our size, whether it makes us sick or not, or unhealthy or not. It's not necessarily so much about how healthy you are, but
just how you look.
How you look. And is it a size 4, a size 2, or a 0?
And funny enough, it's like the shift, society has shifted, and so we shifted. I remember growing up, it was the 0-0. And now there's this kind of thick tone thing that everyone is striving for. So all of a sudden, that's what you're going for. So if you had a more slender demeanor, no, you're out, if that makes sense. Yeah. So why is it not just, this is who I am, as healthy as I possibly can be?
I can personally admit that for a lot of my life, I had stayed toned and healthy looking, right? For most of my life, for a motivation that wasn't necessarily my own. Like, I definitely wanted to present myself to society, especially after being a Miss Jamaica, for the rest of my life, to look a certain way. And it forced me to try and eat healthy, and it forced me to work out. But, if you ask me now, when I really don't care, I've unchecked that box. What my motivation now is just health, making sure I'm eating the right foods and doing the right thing for my heart. And it's not so much about what size I am anymore.
Right.
But that's just because I've come to a certain realization.
And that's a hard thing to do, as in, like, kudos to you for getting there, because that's not an easy thing to be doing it because you love yourself versus fear of what others will say or think, so it's a tough one.
What about having kids? I feel like for women, that's a big checkbox. Like, you're a woman, you must want picnic.
You must marry and have picnic.
Yeah.
And if you haven't achieved life's goals. Like, suppose that's not your goal. Like, why are you made to feel less than or not as much of a woman because that's not necessarily the goal for you, or that's not in the cards for you? Like, who said that that's the only path?
Right, that makes a woman a woman.
Exactly. You're a woman because you're a woman.
Exactly. Full stop. God made you as a woman. And just speaking of God and how he made us, I would like to make the point that he made all of us differently and uniquely on purpose. I actually got this from listening to a Lauryn Hill. I think she was doing like a live show.
That Unplugged thing?
The Unplugged, yeah. And she was saying how it's interesting that God made us all so different on purpose, but yet we spend our lives trying to be like everyone else, and it makes no sense. She also said that, if you do uncheck your boxes and you do check out, so to speak, of all these expectations, people call you crazy.
See?
She's like, yeah, well, I'm crazy now because I'm out.
Yeah, that's the alternative. That is a rejection of society. Oh, you're not checking in, then you're gone.
You're crazy. But guess what? She says she's the happiest she's ever been.
There you go.
She has peace of mind and joy.
Yeah.
More than she ever did when she had her entourage and her wonderful stylists and wardrobes and beautiful hairstyles and everything else that, people thought was perfect and made her appear to have such a great life.
But she was quite unhappy. Yeah.
And it happens all the time, Yeah. It happens all the time when you see celebrities looking happy and no one is. And that's what's important, Shani, to recognize that all of us are struggling.
Struggling in some way. You're so right.
All of us. Yeah. That's what connects us. Yeah. That is the connection that we should be looking at. You know what I mean? When
that
you think about it.
We're learning and growing in this struggle, like recognizing that is the key thing, The rest of it is fuck.
It's surface level. You said it in the beginning, you come with your surface level, self and get a surface level person, and then you can't function.
You don't understand why you don't have a deep and meaningful connection.
So I had a thought, right, about that whole struggle, and that we're all connected through struggle. And I was picturing myself, as I'm growing and evolving as someone perfect. What would that look like if I literally could not have any ill thought anymore ever, not be tempted by anything, and I walked around sin-free forever in this perfect place? I realized that immediately I would lose my connection to everyone. I would lose compassion. I would lose my ability to relate. to my surroundings. It is my struggle and me going through my issues that allows me to, have compassion with my relationship, have compassion with my child, just anything.
Just anyone, or even someone else, like if someone you've had a negative experience with someone, that's your own struggle, your own ability to recognize the difficulty can give you that compassion to say, you know what, I don't know that difficulty that they're going through, and maybe even be able to connect through that, you know?
And so I give thanks for my struggles, because it is what has helped me to have meaningful relationships with people around me.
So true.
So give thanks for your struggles, man. Just keep pushing, keep pushing forward.
What are some other check boxes? Because that's really, there was one, being polite. That was one that came to me, that as women we're expected to be polite. Don't. How you speak, what you say, you have to be very polite. But, again, as we're talking about that compassion thing, I remember there's this other song, old school 90s hip hop, Thieves in the Night, Most Def, where one of the lines is that not compassionate, only polite. So we're really taught to just, say the right thing and, oh no, and, really give the platitudes and things like that. But are we truly being compassionate? Because the compassion comes in the real. The compassion goes beyond being polite and nice in the moment and just saying the right thing, and being open, being vulnerable, being able to, like I said before, share in that struggle and be understanding and empathetic of each other.
So you would you say then that a lot of us are, taught to be polite, act polite, but definitely don't have the ability then to be compassionate deep down within? Like, I say please, I say thank you. Are you saying that it's not as important to have the manners, to be polite?
I don't think it's that being polite lacks importance. I think that it shouldn't take precedent over compassion. Okay. And I think that we should understand that there's a distinction between the two. So just because you are polite about it and nice about it, that doesn't, you know within yourself too that you really don't care, like, you've been in that position. I know I have, where it's like, oh wow, that's but you really don't care. You're really not taking the time to really hear that person, to really feel for that person.
So this is what I'm wondering, like, if we weren't so polite and we were able to really express how we felt about something, if it would force us then to start looking within and finding our truth about these situations and then responding to that. If we didn't have the layer of polite to get us through, right? If we weren't navigating in that manner, would we then have to force ourselves to be true and to find out what our truth is?
I think so.
I watched a movie the other day with Rashid, and we're laughing about it. I forget what it named, but basically in the movie everybody said what was on their mind.
Or the invention of lying. So nobody could lie.
Yes, you couldn't lie.
Being polite is basically...
Yeah, and you couldn't lie, and it's not that you even couldn't, you didn't want to, you didn't even think about lying. It was just not invented yet, lying. And people literally said what was on their mind, and this guy comes around and he tells the first lie. And it
spirals the whole world.
Yeah, he takes advantage of everything. But the point was that people were being honest and truthful. And Rashid and I were laughing about it, like, wow, that's actually not such a bad thing.
Like, what would that really look like?
Yeah.
If you didn't stop and go, maybe I should say this, or how do I word it, or, and
it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. This lady met a guy and she said, okay, this is how I think you look. This is why it will never work.
But I do like, I'm having fun. I didn't expect to have fun or something.
Exactly.
Like
And you know that when somebody tells you something, it is true.
The truth.
It is real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how much time would we save trying to dissect this meaning and the undertone and all, think about how much time we spend trying to figure out what is real and what was said. How nice would it be to know that when someone said something to you, they truly meant it.
Yep.
You know?
We think we need to uncheck these boxes, man. If there are any things that right now are you're conforming to with society just because you think that it might give you status, because that's one of the things too, when we looked at it.
Yeah, it was all about
status. It's an ego. It's really an ego-driven motivation, and you want people to see you when they say, look presentable, so that they can think you belong to this type of group. Fake it till you make it. But make what? Make surface?
Basically, that's it.
Make what?
Surface and, the dollar.
Make a dollar.
Make a dollar.
It's just money. At the end of the day, it's about money.
And really? and then this is the thing. So if you recognize that that's really all that's driving you, you do have to ask yourself some serious questions.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
all that's driving you. There's nothing wrong with making your money. Make your money.
Right.
But is that all that is driving your life?
Right.
That's very empty.
Absolutely. And that might be leading to some of the emptiness that you feel that leads into sadness, depression, anxiety, etc., etc., etc.
And on it goes.
And we have to look at how we're even, just communicating with our children and the people we work with. Like it spirals just...
It's everywhere.
It's like the corona.
It's like corona. You can't
sneeze and the next person catch it,
It's not a laughing matter.
I know. Corona is a serious thing. We do wish you all...
safe, guys.
To be safe and just be, cautious.
Yeah,
wear your gloves.
Yeah, be mindful. Be mindful of what you're doing. And I mean, even with the corona, like, it is part of that, again, thinking deeply about, I might be okay, but am I going to pass this on to someone who won't be okay?
Exactly.
It still ties into it.
It's not about just surviving.
Yeah.
It's the spreading.
It's the spreading.
Not spreading.
And how that's going to impact those around you and everything, yeah.
Speaking of impact and just your children, as I mentioned earlier, for even Gio, when I think about me asking him to set expectations for his grades at school per se, I was never the parent to say I need all A's, just give me A's. Why do I need A's? Do I need A's so that I can say Gio is an A student? Do I need A's for him to get into college maybe? Why do we need A's?
What's the motivation?
So we would talk about it.
Yeah.
And I would explain to him what the A's really represent.
And what they're going to create or not create for
right.
you.
And are you looking to go into this direction? Because this can make it easier. You can get scholarships. You can get that. And what is it that you actually like? What subjects? Maybe those are the ones you should get A's in, because those are the ones you should put in the
effort to.
Because it's something that connects with you. So we would have a discussion about his grades, and it was never just, I expect this because society expects that.
Yeah.
Like, I would encourage you all to do that with your children as well. If you have any, have that conversation and make sure that whatever you're motivating them to do has meaning and
Purpose,
it's not surface level.
Yeah. And again, so these are things definitely do with your children, and you have to do it with yourself first too.
Absolutely.
You definitely need to do it with yourself, and so you know why you're choosing to go along with this. What is your, like she said, what's your motivation, and make a conscious choice, that I'm choosing to do this because I know it will lead to whatever the goal is that I'm trying to attain.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you think about it, like at the end of the day, we're all doing this so that we can feel worthy of something.
Yeah.
Self-worth, I feel, shouldn't be something that society dictates, and it should be more, I always go back to my Bible about, God.
Yeah.
And none of us are worthy. We're not. We're all unworthy. So cut the crap.
And that comes back to we're all in this struggle together, Remember that. At the end of the day, we are flawed. That is one of the hallmarks of humanity.
Exactly.
Is that we are flawed beings. That is what unites us. Or one of the things I should say that unites us. And
it's in the Bible as well, it talks about how only God is worthy and Jesus is worthy, and that's who you should call on. But here in Philippians, Philippians 1:27 says, only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel. Okay. So it's saying your worthiness really should be tied with what we're saying is the compassion and your ability to dig into what's spiritual and meaningful, and that's what you should stand for.
And how you live your life.
And how you live your life.
Right, well, not what you present, but how are you actually living?
Not the politeness.
Not the polite, but what do you really feel about it?
Exactly. Exactly.
So
sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so we've actually run out of time again for today. Another 20 minutes right at you. So we will definitely be back for episode 10.
Yes.
And we'll continue our series. I think we're going to 12 episodes.
And I think for episode 12, we're going to do something special. And we'll talk more about that next week.
Yeah, something very special. I think you're going to like it. All right. Remember, if you have questions, comments, concerns, please send them, forward them.
Yes, we look forward to them.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great week.
And be safe.
Take care.
Bye-bye.